This is Unofficially Official. I'm Star Miller, and
I'm Mayor Mike.
we want to welcome you to our podcast where we fully intend to educate you on all things local. We're back to a new episode, and even though Mike said he would not do the introduction, I'm going to hand it over to him because, honestly, the beginning of this segment is I had no idea this was happening. The Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy.
Right.
Is closing.
Yeah, they announced it.
Otherwise known as
HYCA.
No, otherwise known as
Memorial.
the Soldiers and Sailors
Soldiers and
Home.
Sailors
Take it
Home.
all the way back.
Yeah, so originally built as a soldier and sailor's home for orphans of those soldiers in like the Civil War.
Wild.
That's what it was built for, and then it became Morton Memorial High School.
Okay.
And then when Governor Daniels did the circuit breaker and reduction of spending,
Not my man.
he came in and made it HYCA, which is Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy, which is was a voluntary program for challenged kids who had got, they're kind of
Juvenile delinquents.
Yeah, and they kind of got in trouble.
That's a new age nice word for juvenile.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, right?
Yeah, it was. And they were there voluntarily. So
It was like a remediation program, though, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Beyond,
it's kind of a little bit
beyond a juvenile detention center. Definitely.
kind of like a watered down Scared Straight.
Yeah.
Military
school.
Military school. Yeah. And so they had students up there, and they would, like say, bring students in and hopefully turn their lives around. And I think part of this,
I'm sure that they have been since they've
yeah,
been in operation.
absolutely. And it was kind of interesting because early on in this governor's administration, one of his guys, sat and we met with him. John McCain and I did, and he didn't know much about it, so we took him there and told him
the property is. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and we told him, this is the program, and the director came out and talked to him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is kind of like one of the best kept secrets in Indiana." And so then there was conversation about, obviously it's like a 200 and some acre campus.
I was going to say it's huge,
but it only has probably 95 to 130 kids a class, or
really,
yeah. So.
It's wild to think that, I mean, especially like the times I drive past it, I think, man, it is massive. The buildings are huge. There's tons and tons of rooms. Like what I'm saying is the population there when it first was built must have been
hard
amazing. To imagine. Yeah,
it's
sad. It's sad to think that there were that many orphans.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you go to West Baden or if you go to the Biltmore and you look and you go, oh my gosh, in its day, this must have been a crazy bustling place.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that place, really sad. Sad orphans.
It is. Yeah, it was
originally.
It was kind of one of those deals where we've almost, being in Rush County, we've almost become just numb to it. I guess we kind of just know the story and we do it. And then we kind of thought, well, what would happen, at some point? And I'll tell everybody, my brother John was a county councilman. And one time,
shout out to John.
Yeah, John Pavey was county councilman. And at one time was over at his house, and I was sitting there and we were talking, and I said, what's the one thing that you think is out there that is looming that we don't know about? And he said, well, the thing that really makes me lose sleep at night is what happens if the state walks away from Morton Memorial, that campus. He goes, what's a county set up to do? How does a county handle that?
That's a monumental upkeep cost.
Yeah. And I said, And so we've been working for, I guess, 5 years, wouldn't you say, Kyle?
A partnership, correct? Is that what you mean between the city?
To try to figure out how this could work and how we could do it better and how to free things up. And there was conversation out there about.
Now, do you mean this is prior to you knowing that they were going to close? The city
definitely,
has had a partnership with them.
Yeah, we've had.
And the schools, too, right? I know that they've attended football games and done.
Yeah, they've just become part of our community.
Sure,
I had to make this announcement to the department heads the other day, and there were 3 of them who were like, "Oh my gosh, no!"
I honestly did not know this before we started recording, and I jaw dropped. Really couldn't believe it.
So yeah, they like I say, they play a big role in our community, and we had tried to figure out. The state. We knew that there was conversations that the state were saying, we don't need 200 and some developed acres plus 200 and some more undeveloped acres. up there to take care of these 9.
100,
We
yeah.
need to get more efficient. And we were coming up with options of,
Sure.
we could take them and we could move them here. We could do this. We could do this. And
I'm surprised the property itself and the buildings are not historical landmarks.
Well, all the buildings,
are?
They are on the historic register.
Okay.
So, and that kind of becomes a complication because you just can't go in and do everything.
Right, yeah. Even renovations and things like that, you have to go by, which makes it more expensive.
It does. Yeah. That's exactly right. So we had high hopes that we could figure out how to relocate them to a place that made more sense for us as a community and how to repurpose the campus into something different. And we met with the governor, and the day before he said, "Hey, I've made the decision. It's closing." And it was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And he said, "I've made the decision. It's closing." And we said, "Hey, let's kind of think about this differently." And he said, "I don't know if you guys heard it, but I closed it yesterday." And it was like, oh, so we kind of had to sit on it because it wasn't.
So how many kids are there? Would you like 130? Is that what you said?
Somewhere between 90 and 130,
Okay.
depending on.
And then
the
I wonder
size.
how many staff you think.
Oh,
are
you got a
displaced.
bunch of staff because it's like I say, it's very military, very.
And it's a full time. I mean, it's 24/7.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
These guys are out there all the time.
Yeah.
Right now,
What a disservice to our state. I'll say it.
so well.
I mean, I understand their budgets.
Yeah, and
I understand that things that do matter will get cut. I understand
I think
that.
people. This is what people have to understand, and it's something I will preach and preach and preach. Is everybody says we need to cut money, and you know what? I'm not going to say we don't need to cut money.
Sure.
But please understand, there is something out there on the end of that we need to cut money that is going to go away. And some of the times
that's
you
going
go,
to be affected.
well, and some of the times you go, oh shoot, that's not what I thought when I said that. And so this I think is one of those. It's, I don't know. Like I say, it's
really. I'm so sorry to hear this because not only do they feed our community and we feed back to them, but in that partnership, but I mean, as a whole, they're making the world a better place, right? Putting out these
you hope so. And
kids who probably have come from backgrounds that are difficult,
Well, it was kind of a maybe embarrassing, maybe uncomfortable would be the right terms, but it was Saturday night, and I was at an event, and the state treasurer, which is now state auditor, I think is what they call it, a comptroller, I think is actually what they call it. She stood up and she said, "I just want to thank this community for what they have." And then we were like, "Oh, what's she going to talk about?" She said, "You guys are the home of HYCA, and my nephew was troubled and went through the program. He's now in the military. He's changed his life, and he is a productive, amazing person as a result
putting good out
of
into
that."
the world. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, "Oh, unfortunately, 12 hours ago they announced they're closed."
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those where
Because it's understandable from just a pure financial and
sure it
budget point of view.
it is.
I think it would probably be easier to make decisions based only on that platform.
That's
But
exactly right.
Unfortunately, there is a human connection to it, and kids are involved, and people who have jobs there.
Well, I mean, it's no different than the person who says, "You know what? I think I spend too much on, let's say, the school system or whatever they say they spend too much on," and then you say, "Okay, well, by the way, we got rid of a program, and that program was the mental health counseling that your kid went to," and all of a sudden you go, "No, that's not what I want to cut."
Arts and music, which some kids are inclined to then follow a career in, but if it's not offered.
And I think some of the times, again, those who are considered financially, fiscally conservative, you also have to weigh in. There's a human part to everything.
Well, let's be honest. If you are that way, that's generally because you have more money.
Could be. It could be.
And now the liberal and the conservative square off. The time has come, listeners. No, but really, I mean, that's true, I think.
Yeah, and I just think that
If you have less to work with, you can't really be very much more conservative.
when you get into talking about kids,
Yeah.
it's not about some of the times the return on investment. Some of the times it's not equatable to money.
And you and I both know that not everybody thinks that,
No,
right?
you're
I mean,
right.
it would be nice if everybody did, but not everyone does.
Well, like I say,
It is an investment.
there are a lot. I find it interesting, and we're not going to bring up this is a bad word, but it's a building that everybody's talking about in the state of Indiana right now.
Sure.
They talk about these buildings, and I always laugh because there is this I don't want that
Yeah.
in my community. And you know why? Because I've been on my phone and I've been researching it, and you go, do you realize that that's kind of counter?
I always wonder if people realize that they are creating their own algorithm when they get on their device.
Right.
And so you are kind of self-feeding.
Yeah, and so this is one where, I guess, in my opinion, financially, I get that you can make a decision and you say, hey, it got closed. I get that. I understand that. But
well,
I also,
like I said, it'd be easier to just be on that, like make the decision only from that platform with no feeling involved.
When you put a kid turning his life around, what's the price tag?
And where do those kids go now? I'm sure there's places that they have to go, but they're all getting displaced somewhere else, which kids who are in those situations need not to be moved around a ton. They probably already have had experience that in their life.
Sure. Most of them, whenever, and so here's a story. This is a story, and I don't think it in any way touts me. So I went out, they came into town one day and they were going to help the animal shelter. So I went to the animal shelter and I stopped by, and the city will buy them pizzas, as kind of a trade-off for them working. And they're all excited because, one, they get out. Number two is they get this pizza. And
they're being productive.
Right.
Human beings need to, yeah.
So half of them are inside cleaning out dog pens. The other half are out walking dogs, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And there's one boy standing there, and I said, hey, how you doing? He said, good. He said, are you really the mayor? I said, yeah, I'm really the mayor. And he said, well, I just want, sir, and they're very, very, sir, I just want to tell you, I'm trying to turn my life around.
Good manners.
And I said, you know what? We all screw up. We all make mistakes. And I said, just learn from it, make things better. I said, people are out there rooting for you, whether it's your family, whether it's your community. They're out there hoping you
and
get
you can
better.
root for yourself too.
I leave that day, don't think another thing of it. It was just ran into a kid, talked to a kid. I go up there for a visit, and at the time the campus director comes up and he said, I just want to tell you something. That kid has turned his life around. And I said, from what? And he said, just the fact that you stood and talked to him. He said he came from like East Chicago. He would have never had an opportunity to have ever met a mayor or anybody at that level. And he said, you stood and talked to him and act like you care. And when he came back, he said, that guy gave about me, and he said, he has been a great turnaround for us. He said, so don't ever think that just because you're the mayor of a small community that you don't have an impact on kids.
And also don't think just because you're not the mayor, the influence you have, yes, kids are, yes.
So it was kind of an eye-opening experience to say, you run into kids, or you run into people who are at that point in their lives where just a little bit of attention or just a little bit of a push makes a difference in their life.
Or belief, just a little bit of belief in them. And even just standing there talking, that tells him that he's worthy, he's worth that time.
That's a simple
That makes it even more bittersweet.
Yeah.
Not even bittersweet. That's what makes it better. Better. Yeah.
So
it's closed now as we record, or
I think they said they're going to run the class to the end of the year. So
which would be what for them? Is that like the same as the school year? Okay.
Somewhere in there. They'll start now. What happens to the campus?
That's what I was going to say.
That was the thing that kept it moving and vibrant and
also, as well as I do, especially older buildings, and there are tons and tons of buildings on that property, when there are not persons in there living and taking care of it, they can really dilapidate more quickly.
And I'm looking at Kyle and just so everybody knows, Kyle's
a genius.
Kyle's a chicken, and he doesn't have a microphone in front of him because he could contribute. I think there's honestly, I think there's like 52 buildings up there.
I was going to say,
and they use like 17. The rest of them are mothballed, and now these will be mothballed because there will be no programs out there. So,
but even something just as simple as like no heat running, no cool in the and those buildings are old. How long has that place been there? Did we already say that?
Kyle was supposed to know, but I don't think he's looked it up.
Yeah, why isn't Kyle that person on a podcast where we just look to and anything we say reference, he's clickety-clacking over there and showing it to us?
That's right. There should be some type of a data board here that he types stuff on the wall that
there is a time. What is this called? A timer?
It's a timer.
Yeah.
It tells us how long we've been on the air, but
we've gotten official around here.
We don't have.
I think the first day we didn't even have pins that worked.
That's right.
Come on, Kyle.
Kyle was
Dead
not
air
able.
is money.
I'm going to say 1800s, 1867 is my guess.
Okay, when's the Civil War?
Well, 18 something.
Okay,
right around that area.
I didn't.
And someone out there will just beat me up because I didn't know the date.
Yeah, somebody's gathering intel to post as we speak.
we like to say that this program kind of whets your appetite on researching stuff.
Sure.
And we're expecting people to go out
Absolutely.
and finish the research.
That's the title of this podcast. That wraps up this episode of Unofficially Official. We thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed today's episode, you can subscribe to our show on your streaming platform of choice.